So, Art 2, we are going to start our first distance learning project, and it might be slightly different than we left with. We're sort of changing gears. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a fantasy nature journal. And there's been a long history of observational journals by artists. Leonardo da Vinci was famous for his sketchbooks, where he would go out and observe the natural world and create these beautiful journals for it. All the way through illustrators like Beatrix Potter, who did Peter the Rabbit. She was a famous um, illustrator, but also she was a watercolorist and she loved observing nature. So we're going to take that tradition that sort of reached its height during the late 1800s and we're going to kind of have fun with it. So here's a picture of a journal, obviously of a sort of a naturalist who was looking at butterfly wings. Um, People would go out and draw things like mushrooms, sort of combining both art and science. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that form and do a creative fantasy element. So we're going to take that scientific quality and turn it towards fantasy. So here is one where the person sort of created a nature journal and observational drawings of something they could never observe, these sort of fantasy unicorns. Um, there's the famous series, sort of that Spiderwick series, and it exploits that as well. So here again is sort of a nature journal, and obviously this artist was inspired by seahorses, crustaceans, and mermaids. So that's going to be our project. We're going to combine illustration, small illustrations, writing, lettering, to sort of create this look of a journal. Here's an actual student project that a student did for me. And they did these obviously different sort of observations of this creature. Here's a creature that wherever it walks, morning glories emerge. And another creature. So that's going to be our project. And the way you're going to create it is you're going to use watercolor, pen and ink, color pencil, whatever you want. So one of the first steps that I would suggest is that you would start with a sheet of drawing paper. This is the 12 by 18 inch paper. And go ahead and age it. So I actually took coffee and painted over the whole thing. And you can take watercolors, mix your watercolors, kind of fade them in. Get this nice faded quality. I could take a little more water and blend that out. I can mix sort of these other shades. What happens with old books is they start getting eaten by mold. Paper fiber is this organic material. So worms will eat at it, mold. And look, I'm going to use a paintbrush, another paintbrush, and I use it to knock it. And that's how I can get sort of those random splatters with just a little bit control. And don't be surprised like how vibrant some of these colors can be. So you do that. You can even use pencil, kind of that mold that sort of grows up from the edges. And lastly, on a sheet of paper that I distressed, I even took a lighter to it and burnt the edges. So I burnt the edges to give it that organic quality. And here I burnt it. And then right here, I even intensified it with a little colored pencil. Next, what you can do is you can take just your traditional Blick black pen or Papermate black pen and start creating your image. Now, if we were at the school site, I have students use the dip pens, but that is not the case, right, guys? We can start creating our illustration. So here's my spider. That has an eye. And so I could work on this illustration, watercolor it, update it with colored pencil, and when I'm done, I would have some sort of nature journal image. So I want you to have fun drawing. I want you to create something really original. You can use a mythological creature that exists. You could create your own. And again, you're going to take the paper that's 12 inches by 18 inches, distress it, of course, develop your sketches, have an idea, because as neat as it is, we do want it to look cool on the page. So you want to make sure that you have an idea where things are going to go. You want to have sort of your major figures and your small studies. Then you're going to finish it off with watercolor, pen and ink, and color pencil. And that will be our first project, and I will send out a due date through Google Classroom.